did we hear anything from the NCE yet?
You mean whether it's officially been approved?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can consider that it has, although I don't know if Lucilla has the official notice yet, but Dawe said that he logged in on his end and everything.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay, then. So, on the agenda today, we just want to talk a little bit about the ongoing work with the CEDAR and the Commons pilot folks. And then Yuling has been working on the identifiers, consolidation, and data type, along with Alejandra and Philippe, that we just want to quickly touch on. I think she had a couple of questions for discussion. We also have new DataMed features that we had talked about briefly last time, and I just want to go over that and get some updates from the team. So for the data type ontology, as you know, Alejandra and Philippe did the first pass of the ontology, and we were looking to review it. And then there were a couple of emails where I think Yuling has looked into data types that were getting pulled in when we were doing the ingestion process, and she was going to share that data with Alejandra. So I just wanted to find out if that has been done. But I guess she's going to call in now.
No, I think Yuling's on the call.
Yes, I am on
the
call.
I think she just got on the call.
Yeah. I just want to clarify. I don't remember what we talked about this last time.
No, I remember that you, I guess it was through email. I don't think we talked about it here. But
it's in the email. Okay.
Yeah, but we were talking about the fact that you would be generating a list of data types from whatever we have that's been ingested, and you were going to share that material with Philippe and Alejandra.
Okay, I can start working on it today. It will not be hard if I can work it with Brock. So I will get something done by the end of tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I guess they wanted to check back. The idea was to check back with the ontologies that they've already prepared to see how good the coverage is and whether additional things need to be implemented from their end. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. It was more like an evaluation exercise, right?
I think there were also questions on how to get an easy listing from the ontology instead of having to load it into Protégé. Because there was because I think all that they have right now is the YAL file, right? So
yeah.
There's no easy way for somebody just to come in and look at it.
Right. So the second thing is, again, for the identifiers. I think Yuling had some questions. Do you want to talk about it, either Jeff or Yuling?
Well, I mean, what we've been doing is from the one pilot, we've been recurating all the identifiers for their Curie version, and that's what Yuling has been working on.
And I think I have already listed all the questions in the spreadsheet. I can double confirm.
So you have a spreadsheet or is this the same one that Julie had shared with us?
Let me find it out. I think I have shared it, but I'm not 100% sure.
So after this curation is done, we need to re-index everything so that it gets updated, right?
Yes, yeah, and so there were two parts to that, right? There was both the identifiers. There were some of the changes that we were talking about in terms of the resources. So we sort of were holding on because we didn't pass some of the identifiers before the last release, just because we were waiting to release them in bulk. But I think Barak has already sent some over to you, so you can work on the development side with the new identifier format. He sent those, I think, before the all hands meeting.
Okay, so did he send those to Xiaoling?
I'd have to check. I'm not sure who he. I mean, probably. Because Xiaoling was the one working on that at that time, right?
Right. Firat and Xiaoling were both doing stuff, so I'm not sure if. So maybe we could. Yeah. So maybe if in the future we need to ensure that they would send it to Firat, and so that he's going to be the one who's going to be updating and doing the current work.
Okay.
On the UI side.
So Anu, I just found out that the spreadsheet has been shared with you. So you should have the spreadsheet. The name is Queries for BioCADI data sources. And Brock has been check out all the ones that he transferred. And the second sheet is all the questions that I ever had. Some of those questions have been answered by Jeff, and I haven't. I think I haven't made another column talking about the status of the questions.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Okay, let me just. I can share it with the whole team.
Mhm.
So, do you see the spreadsheet now? Or are you seeing something else? I'm sorry? This is a spreadsheet you're talking. So does everybody see the spreadsheet?
No, we don't see the spreadsheet. We are Google now.
The spreadsheet is only shared a new Jeff.
Yeah, now it's
good. Is this the one? Do you see it now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So do you just want to talk about this briefly, Yuling?
I think Brock has been marking all the ones that he's done transferring in yellow color.
In this? Okay.
Oh, the second sheet has all the status of the transferring. Yeah, Brock is here. He's trying to.
Okay.
Like if there's a column called like transfer. If it says yes, that's basically transferred to the publicly available like the BioCADI data source and checked. and verify it, like that's what. Like I have done most of the transfers. Like I think all of the ones which have like no questions. The only ones that's left is like that have like some questions.
So the ones that are in yellow have not been done yet, right?
No. Yellow doesn't actually mean that much. I mean, like for the transfer, it's the column B.
Oh, okay.
So when you say transferred, you're talking about putting it in the repository?
Yeah, in the new like public repository of like instead of the data pipeline, there's a new one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
And it's also means also that it is checked that it is working.
Okay.
It doesn't have errors and that kind of stuff. Basically.
Okay. Okay. Because I think if somebody wants to go in and double check on it, especially since in the paper we said we were making everything public. If they're going to go and double check, I think we need to have these. So all the transformation script and the config files would be available here for these, is what you're saying.
Transformation files, not the config.
Yeah, for 190.
Transformation files and the sample data. Configuration.
Sample. Okay.
Is not there. We didn't put any configuration.
Yeah, some of the configuration files, because it tells exactly potentially what we're hitting, and like the servers and stuff like that. I mean, there's a question if we should have those public or not.
Okay, so I'm not sure if we should have them public. Maybe not, but because I know for sure that in the data pipeline we have them, right? But that's a private repository, so it's okay.
Yeah. Because there's sort of two faces of it, right? There's the sample data that we get, and the transformations of that sample data, which there's no problem in that being public, and then there's sort of the configuration for the sources themselves. And we could probably make some of them. We could probably make some of the configuration files available because they're sort of documented. But then the question is, do we need to, how do we then have to explain that somehow? That some of the things aren't public.
Or maybe we can say because they contain sensitive information, the config files are not available currently.
Yeah, and to contact us. That would be fine, yeah.
Okay. So this spreadsheet also has the query resolution for. So Jeff, do you know if with the project they had actually requested some queries to be assigned new?
Yeah, in the spreadsheet that Julie had, there were some queries that they were requesting from identifiers.org, some new ones. And then there were three, because I talked to her just before the weekend and before my travel, but there were three sources, I believe, that didn't have resolvable landing pages. And so they're talking to the California Digital Library N2T to be able to get a query prefix that will basically throw up a page saying that there's no resolvable landing page. So I have to follow back up with Julie in a week or so and see if that's, if they were able to do that.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So getting back to, I guess, Yuling's question. So I thought the default was for us to use the identifiers.org query, right?
Yeah. So the what Julie's been doing is coordinating with identifiers.org to get
Right.
the query prefixes and then also to add new ones if needed. So that's what she's been doing.
So I'm still trying to understand Yulin's question here.
What's the question?
Oh, I'm sorry,
I
I forgot that. Yeah, you're not looking at the screen. So her question, I guess, is that some of the suggested outgoing links are, identifiers.org/whatever, going through identifier.
Okay. So that was the question about how do we want to implement this when we have the full query identifiers there? Because right now, our distributions point to specific data distribution endpoints, right? And that's what's rendered in the website. And then the identifier right now doesn't have any link to it. So one potential solution there is to leave the distributions as is and have the identifier have an external link symbol or something that then resolves it through identifiers.org. So that's one potential way to do it. So the real question is how do we implement the sort of the redirect for the data set ID? Well, it's not a distribution because it's sort of the data set, right? And so a data set can have multiple distributions or sub-distributions. And so it's really about the high-level data set itself. And again, that can be, we can link out from the data set page itself, from the ID, to the identifiers.org resolver or NQT. So that's what we have to figure out is how we want to actually display that.
So I guess when I was talking to Julie, what she was, it was not just a link out, I think, that she was talking about. I think she was looking at the URL that was getting displayed, right, by DataMed.
Yeah. So there's the second part to that question is how do we want to resolve? So if someone goes to DataMed with a query, how did we want to resolve that? And I thought that we had discussed on a previous call that if someone put in datamed.org/query, so BSMRB:12345, that would be handled by a little PHP script, that could search for that identifier and then redirect to that data set page. Because right now the data set pages have information on the session and things like that to get to the page or the URL.
All right.
And I think when we were talking with Ru Ling a number of months ago when this was starting up, that there was potential that we could just have a very simple PHP lookup for the queries.
Okay. So I guess Firat.
Yeah.
Probably this is something that you may have to look into.
Yeah, maybe.
So, is that all we wanted to discuss, Jeff, about this?
I mean, I think those are the two issues where the identifiers get used, right?
Yeah.
So those are the two primary areas. Yeah.
Okay. So then, I guess Firat will look into how he could potentially implement it and get back to you if he has questions. to you and you.
Yeah. And I'll be back with a full email later tonight, tomorrow. So.
Okay. And also we have ongoing discussions with the Cedar Group and the Commons Pilot folks with the meetings. One meeting was cancelled last week, and then we have a meeting tomorrow. So I think basically what's being discussed is creation of templates. That tooling you have already done, right? In
Yes.
Cedar? And you've shared it. So what we talked about, I know both of you were not in the call last week. So what we talked about in the last week is just running through the system once. So one of the things that we asked the Commons Pilot folks for is some kind of synthetic data that we could use to internally first to actually go through the system where we are submitting some metadata, creating a metadata instance in Cedar and figuring out if they're able to transmit that, or if we are able to pull it in.
Right, and so we have the template, and then the one thing we still have to do on our end is we have to finish the ingestion of the template through the pipeline, because we had an all hands meeting for another project that Barak's on, so we had to sort of get some things done for that. But this week he can start on the ingestion of the Cedar template.
Right. So the ingestion process, would they be pushing us? Still, I was not sure if they would be pushing it to us, but they seem to have an API that we could use.
Yeah. So we had there was that email thread with John, and so basically there are two service calls. One is a service call that basically allows you to list the instances of a template, given the template ID.
Okay.
And so that will give all the metadata available for a certain template. And then there's another service call that basically allows for the grabbing of the metadata for a specific instance.
Okay. So if there are user-defined instances that are outside of what we have created but still linked with the same data set, are we going to be pulling those in or not?
Not unless someone sends us a template, and the problem there is that with the user-created instance, it could be anything. So it might not even have metadata that we know about.
Okay.
So that's sort of an issue.
Right. Because if they want to add in extra information that is not, I guess. So probably we'll get to know once we run.
Yeah, that might be possible, but there's no way right now that I know of to get to find out if so if someone uses the Quartz, like the current BioCaddy template and extends it, I'd have to ask John. I don't know if there's a way to know what instance, because the only services I'm aware of are the ones that have a template instance, a template ID, and so I don't know how to find out if a template contains another template. So I don't know if there is that service, but I can send John an email.
Okay. So I think, Jeff, are you going to be there for the meeting tomorrow?
I think I can step out of my meeting. I may only be able to step out for 15 or so minutes.
Okay.
But I should be able to be there, yeah.
Okay. I think those are the major things that we wanted to talk about today. So just as I mentioned, the last meeting I asked for some kind of at least, example data, metadata that could come in. So they were saying that they would be able to get something for us to check the system. And also they said that they would be able to get some outside users who can test the system, who could be test users. And the timeline they're talking about is, I think, end of December. So that should be possible, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, from what I can tell from the services, it looks pretty straightforward to do the ingestion. So the only question is the template within the template. I'm not sure if we can do that. But for the straightforward BioCaddy template, I think that should be pretty straightforward.
Anyway, they're talking about it being like, at least in the first pass, it would be like not really. Well, they want to see a production system by December if it's possible, but before that, I think we'll have some runs that would be trial runs and stuff like that. They're not really production scale yet, like a prototype.
Yeah, the only question gets to how frequently are we going to do updates on that.
So that's something I thought John said that they could send us some kind of a, how do you call it, an email or some kind of a, like an alarm system which tells us when a new instance has been created, right?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they could send us something. I mean, we can poll every week to find if something new has been created, because that then gets to basically shuttling the data, directly, to the index system in a more automated way. So
okay. But would we need additional programming to be able to do that in an automated way?
Well, right now, the records go through you, but technically we could write directly to the Elasticsearch instance the records themselves. Right. So we would just need to decide on what we want to do for that. Because we're not changing the model or anything like that. We're basically just adding additional records.
Right. Okay. So this actually is a list of what we talked about in terms of new features of DataMed. One of the things that we wanted to do is, I guess we'll do it in the NCE period, is to expand the number of data repositories. And I just heard from the UI/UC folks, from Craig, and he wants to create some repositories in our GitHub where he's going to deposit all the information that he has or they have worked with, and what the current programs that they have, or the algorithms that they've developed. So I'll actually get that done. And with Emory, do we have any updates for that?
No, not yet. So
because I know
I changed the algorithm on the development side. I'm trying there. So the login for the production side is changed now. They are using Duo. I need an access for Duo. I will send them a mail and get the access and apply it on the production part.
Okay. And also, just to update everybody, so from the Emory Group, we've actually have an ongoing discussion so that we can use learning to rank algorithm that they have that they use for the challenge for re-ranking, and they're working with Diwakar to pull out the user data that we are recording, because we've been recording, or we have the user tracking system which is actually collecting data. So they're going to use that to develop the learning to rank re-ranking system, and Firat and Diwakar are working with the Emory Group to actually get this implemented. We haven't started anything else, of course, yet, besides the initial preliminary work that Xiaoling did on the common data elements, as well as the deep search. So I guess we probably will get started with that. And some of the other things actually that we want to do is the word cloud, which had to be implemented as soon as we ran the NLP pipeline, both at the back end and the front end. Now that the back end systems are almost completely updated with the NLP pipeline, I think we want to implement it, but Xiaoling said that there was some issue with that. So maybe, Firat, I know you were talking with Diwakar with regard to this implementation. Did you look at that yet or not?
Not yet. I think we will look at that.
And I think we'll also need to talk to Diwakar for the most access data sets that we want to, because you would use the user tracking system information to collect that data.
Yeah.
And the other feature that we plan to implement is the new results. Alerts sent to users who are registered with new results from saved searches, and I think that's something that we probably will do a little later on. And another thing that we've been talking about is to have the DAX output. So I don't know if anything has been done yet. We talked about this, I think, the last couple of times.
So is there a way to prioritize these things for us to start with? So what's the most important one?
I would think maybe I guess the easiest would be actually most access data sets and word cloud work.
Yeah.
And then in the meanwhile, once Diwakar and the Emory Group have figured out, then by that time we can actually go back to the ranking algorithm.
Okay.
So with the sorry?
Okay.
Okay. So with the DAX output, Firat, you know what to do? Or if you have any questions for Jeff, maybe we can...
The standardized version? Are you
Yes.
talking about that?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
For that we have a standard mapping from our datasets, from our metadata to the standard ones, so we can convert them.
This is basically... So when you say standard output, you're talking about the DAX model, right? You're not talking about schema.org, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Because then we will actually offer this through our API.
So DOS model will be applied to API, right?
Yes.
Yes. So we need a mapping for the standard side metadata, so we can map it. Before sending the data, we will convert that and send the API result with that conversion for that standard. And we need a mapping for that.
Okay.
I think this can be the first thing to be done. Maybe if we prioritize the things we will do before the word cloud, this output can
That's
be done.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there anything else that you actually? That's it. So I don't have anything else that that I want to talk about today. But if any of you have any other issues, no. So if not, thank you very much, and we'll disperse a little early today then.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.